Here's Roger. Can you hear me, Roger? You're muted. Roger, you're muted, I believe.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Roger, you're muted.
And Linda's the one on the phone.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Linda.
Hey.
How about now?
We can hear
Now
you.
we can hear you.
You got me?
We
Yep.
got you. All right. And let's see, we got Timmy. Can you hear us? Hello, Timmy?
I think his speaker's having trouble.
I think so. And Jennifer's there, I think. There's Jennifer. Hey, Jonathan.
How's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Back-to-back meetings for you, John.
Yeah. I like how you and Jim have my two favorite football teams represented here, so we're looking good already.
I almost put on Broncos, but I didn't want to upset Jim.
I was at the game on Sunday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Jim didn't hear me.
It must have been amazing. That was quite
It was a
beatdown.
fun game. Good game. Yep.
It sounded like the crowd was like old school Broncos crowd with the incompletes and loud.
Yeah. Yep.
That's good.
All I know is that we would be talking about the Broncos as serious playoff contenders had that kick not gotten blocked against Kansas City right now.
Oh,
They would
no.
be totally looking differently. But I don't want to get us on a whole derailed thing, but man, that was tough.
How did you know that was going to be my comment?
Okay, Timmy, are you?
He just
You on?
texted me. He can hear us and see, but he's having issues with his camera and mic.
Okay. Let's
So
give him a
he's
minute.
gonna try on a different device, but
Okay.
yeah.
So let's see. Who else are we expecting, Britt?
I thought Pinziner was gonna be here, but she may not. And I think Mahold, I was tentative, so I don't know that he's gonna be here.
The last time I talked to Tom, I told him since he's in Costa Rica,
Okay.
not a big deal if he can't join us.
Yeah.
So I don't expect him tonight.
Okay, perfect.
And you said
And
Linda's
there's
on the phone.
there's
and-
Pinziner. Yep. So everyone's here.
Okay, and
It's gonna be
Nicole
you.
is here. Hello, Nicole.
Me.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's give Timmy just a minute, and then we'll get started.
Before we get started anyways, I just wanted to let everyone know I just updated the packet because I forgot to put who called to the meeting to order. So I just updated it and it went on the website like 15, 20 minutes ago. I'm sure people noticed, but I did update it.
Okay.
It looks like Timmy is on, and he said he could hear us. So,
Well, I think he was trying.
Yeah,
a
he's
different
trying to
device.
get it. I think he's trying to get it on his phone. He just said almost there. Hang on.
Oh,
Okay.
Do we have to wait for the meeting to start for a couple of corrections for the minutes?
Yes.
I mean, we could technically get started. We know he's here. He just
No,
won't
that's
say
true.
anything. We'll just need him for the action item.
Okay, I figured if he's just about on, we would give him a minute, but let's, why don't you go ahead and get started
Okay. Called in the meeting at 7:04. Chair Williams,
here?
Vice Chair Reese,
Present.
Commissioner Cornell,
Here,
Commissioner Glasser,
Here,
Commissioner Pinzner.
Here.
I don't see Commissioner Dye actually, now that I'm thinking about it.
I saw on
Okay,
Facebook it's his birthday, so he might be
okay,
enjoying it.
that makes sense. Mayor Pro Tem Sterling,
Here.
and I'm gonna say Commissioner Duggan is here. Speak up if your speaker's working.
I guess we'll put him as half here.
Half here, all right.
Okay, let's see, and that's it.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. We'll get started here. We have a relatively short agenda. I want to thank everyone for joining remotely here. Makes things a little easier this evening. And this is actually, I think most of us first time with Microsoft Teams, so it went pretty smoothly for me. I hope everyone else had a a good experience here.
if I
Okay.
can do it, anybody can do it.
Well, there's our test right there. Okay, we don't have any public on for public comment on any non-agenda items, I believe. So we will close that portion of the meeting and we'll move on to the approval of minutes from the October 23rd Planning Commission meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes and comments? Jim,
this
I think
is-
you had some comments.
Yep, this is Commissioner Reese. On page 2,
Mhm.
down under number 3, where it says Vice Chair Reese, if you will just
Yes.
pull that E off the end of my name there.
Yeah, no problem.
And then on the second page, let me see, it was the first paragraph. And it's about the second to the last line. It says Mayor Pro Tem Sterling reiterated the BOT gave them explicate instructions, and I think it's supposed to be explicit
Okay.
instructions
Explicit.
that the plan was supposed to be more tactile and specific as possible.
Okay.
I believe that's what the right word is there.
Yep,
Probably
it
explicit,
is.
not, yeah. And those are the only 2 I saw.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay,
Jimmy is
No
on.
corrections here.
perfect. Yeah, he's on. Timmy, I muted you, but just because we were hearing a lot of noise. But you can unmute yourself whenever.
I have
Alrighty.
to remove my video because my internet is going in and out a lot, and I think I'm gonna have better service without the camera on.
Oh, no worries.
That's generally true, yes.
Okay, does anyone else have any comments or corrections to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Timmy here. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the October meeting.
Second?
Alrighty. Commissioner Cornell. Oh, wait, you weren't here, so I'll abstain you.
Abstain.
Commissioner Pinzner.
Accepted, or I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
No
Yes.
worries. Anything's fine. Commissioner Glasser,
yes,
Chair Williams, I'll put you as abstain.
Abstain.
Commissioner Duggan, sorry, I'm all over the place.
Yep, approved.
Vice Chair Reese,
Yes.
and I'm gonna use Mayor Pro Tem Sterling because we don't have a lot of votes here, and you were here, right? Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Let's move on to our action items. We have one on the agenda tonight. It is the modification to the industrial zone in the use group table. Britt, would you like to introduce this action item?
Yep, absolutely. So I won't read through the first part of the summary. It's kind of the same from the last meeting, but at the October 23rd meeting, you guys gave us the direction to work with Attorney Madison to draft modifications to the industrial zone in the use group table. Something we wanted to know is implications to owner. It's important to note that there are currently no mining operations in industrial zone, and therefore it would not affect anyone's current business operations. But it's also important to note that this modification would prevent mining and milling operations from being permitted in this use area. The draft ordinance is being considered before you guys tonight, which you have before you. If no changes are made, it'll move forward to adoption and then go before the Board of Trustees. If adjustments are recommended, we will make adjustments and return for a review. Does anyone have any questions about this item? We've kind of gone over it, talked about it a few times, but happy to go more in depth if needed.
Okay, thank you. So any changes are either crossed out or underlined, is that correct?
Correct.
To-
Hold on, let me.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Jennifer, would you like to say anything about the draft ordinance?
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward. Really, the mining uses have been removed from the Nederland Code. It's clarified very explicitly in the amendment to section 1632, which is a use group table, because mineral processing has been added to the use group table. And it just says no in all zone districts that it's not permitted. So really there can be no argument that mining is allowed. I will say that mineral processing is defined in the code. And if you bear with me just 1 second, I can tell you what that definition is. That means mineral processing means facilities for processing ores and minerals to extract soluble components and store unusable components. Tailings and settling ponds and landfill includes unit operations such as crushing, grinding, flotation, gravity, magnetic separation, and pumping. So if the
Okay.
ordinance is approved, that would not be allowed in town limits.
Right, and I think I went through it looking for any reference to mining or whatever, and I think you caught everything. I think everything has been removed.
Great.
So, okay, well, let's open it up for any discussion or questions to the Planning Commission at this point. Anybody want to bring anything up?
Yeah, I think we had a brief discussion on it last meeting. I don't know if there's much more to add, just in terms of it being 2024 now, and just not really a reality that we need in our town anymore, compared with the environmental consequences.
Okay. Anyone else?
I would agree with what Commissioner Duggan said there. We basically kind of talked it through and asked, what the impacts of limiting any future property owners would be, and came to the conclusion that after some explanation from Attorney Madsen, excuse me, trying to get that right, that the detriment to our town would be, outweigh any possible, benefit manufacturing wise.
Steve, just a comment. Yeah, I agree. It's as I had mentioned a month ago, we actually looked at that back and I think it was like '06. It was almost like just a historical thing that we left in there. But I could see how it could be misinterpreted as just kind of a historical thing. So I think it's very appropriate to have it removed and recommend removal.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Okay, I don't see any public online, so I will open and close the public.
We do have one.
Oh, we do.
I don't know if she wants to talk, but Greta is online. You don't have to
Okay.
talk, Greta, if you don't want to. I think she's probably just wanting to listen.
Okay,
Oh,
If
she said she
not-
doesn't have a working mic. It appears to have impact on the Wolf Tongue property.
Correct.
I'm sorry, she said it has impact on the Wolf Tongue property?
Yeah, she's still texting. Yeah, she said it appears to have an impact on the value of the Wolf Tongue property. And she's sending me another text. Maybe.
Is she able to call in with her phone
Yeah,
and give us some more information?
Well, the industrial zone was the only place it was allowed in the first place, right? And that's
Correct.
the only industrial land we have.
I just asked her if she wanted me to give her the call-in number, and which I can post it in the chat.
okay.
Well,
So
while
while
we're
we're doing
waiting.
that- Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask about the use group table, where we took out mineral processing is still listed in there, and then right above it, it still has the R for review, but it just took out, lined out processing of minerals and ores at the rate of more than 100 tons per day, and I wonder if we even need to have that in there, or was it left in there as a deterrent to show people, hey, this is just not allowed? I'm just curious. Attorney Madsen.
So your question is about the strikeout of processing of minerals? Is that the question?
No, more along the lines of where it has mineral processing underneath it, and it just has
Right.
no's across the board. And then it seems like the above one, by crossing out the minerals and processing of ore, then I don't know, what are the other kinds of facilities and manufacturing? So that just basically leaves open any kind of warehouse operations minus minerals. Is that why it's still listed as a review then?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
So, that wasn't really the direction to remove those types of uses. I guess that would be a bigger conversation if that was other uses that you wanted to exclude from that zone district.
And I don't think that was what we discussed. I just saw that it had been removed in one place, and then we had it listed below separately.
Yeah,
So was
and
that always there? as mineral processing, or was that? added
No,
in the
no,
notes?
that's new. And the reason that I did it that way is because it just really clarifies, it makes it very explicit that mining is not allowed. There's no question. I know that we've had some other uses in the past that weren't listed in the use group table. For example, short-term rentals at one point wasn't listed, and there was an argument that, well, that's a use that's allowed. It's a residential use. And I just didn't want there to be any type of argument that it would be allowed.
Gotcha. Sounds good.
Okay, any luck, Britt?
Yeah, I just sent her everything, so I'm waiting to see if that worked.
Okay,
I did let her know, which hopefully she'll be able to get on here, that if this passes tonight, it still goes before the board. So if her family members want to speak to, that I'll send them the dates, time, and all of that. Because that was something that she mentioned, is the family's not here to talk.
okay,
She said she's trying to get in.
okay.
Well, if her concern is that it reduces the value of the entire property in the industrial zone by excluding that one use, I mean, I guess that could be a view, but I think, as a group, we decided that just basically, I was won over because that was kind of the thing I was talking about.
There she
Oh,
goes.
sounds like she might
I think
be on.
that's her.
All right, go ahead. We'll let her go ahead and
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and you have 3 minutes.
And you might have to mute your computer if you're on your computer too, Greta, otherwise it'll echo.
Due to the circumstances with the loss of my father and everyone else not being here, yes, I did want to listen in. And historically, with it being the crown jewel, it's also got, it's got its challenges and its beauties. But as my father had said at one other point in time years ago, it appears there are things that negatively impact the value of his land. There are no plans, to my knowledge, to do any of the milling or processing. But I do want our family to be represented in these decisions, even if it may or may not change anything.
Okay. Well, thank you. And as Britt pointed out, this will go before the Board of Trustees, and hopefully you and the family can join at that time. And Britt, you can provide her with the dates and the time of the meeting. I assume it'll come up next meeting.
I'm not sure when it will be slotted. I will get with Jonathan, but I'll make sure, yeah, Greta, that you have call-in numbers, dates, and I'm happy to email that out to you and the family if that's okay.
Yeah, that would be great. To all four of us, Meyerton siblings, I appreciate it. And I apologize for the hassle, older laptops that we've now lost the mic on. So thank you for sending me the dial-in information.
Oh, no worries. We're glad you could participate, and hopefully you guys can join the next one too.
Okay.
Can I just ask a quick clarifying question of Greta? Greta, this is Jim Reese, Vice Chair. I just wanted to see, are you then voicing your concern that you would not want this change to happen, that you don't want to remove the ability to do mining in the industrial zone? I just want to be sure what your point of view is.
My point of view is that, and I only speak for myself, I have 3 other siblings, but my point of view is that it might have a impact on the property that may not be the best for a resale value or anything else. And like I said earlier, it may or may not, but I think that as owners of the property, we should be able to have a say approving or not for everybody in these type of changes.
I also have a question for Greta, or at least a request. Greta, this is Nicole, Mayor Pro Tem, and when it does come before the Board of Trustees, if you have evidence that it will reduce the value of the land, then I think that would be really important for you to bring. I will say that because of all of the affordable housing initiatives and whatnot, that the value of the land might actually also increase if it were allowed for, you know, potentially different zoning, or just the fact that it is an available piece of land. I wouldn't discount that either. Just because it is removing mining, there are lots of other needs within the town that makes it valuable.
That's true. And thank you, Nicole.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you. All right.
Jim, this is Roger. I just want to emphasize what Nicole said, because I was thinking the same thing. It's definitely kind of an issue up in the air, and there's no telling what would make that piece of property more valuable one way or the other. So any conversation going forward, and you certainly, the owners have had, you know, over quite a while to actually approach this question, but there's no doubt that it could go either way. And I've always thought over the years that probably the mining issue is probably more of a hindrance for development and for increased gain than not. So yeah, please research that and come for the Board of Trustees. And certainly us recommending it to go forward still gives the family a chance to speak at the hearing at the Board of Trustees.
Thank
Greta,
you,
this is
Roger.
Vice.
And
I'm sorry, please continue.
I should say thank you, Roger. I recognize that the historical use may not be the best use, and going forward, the potential for housing and or other uses could be more valuable, because light industrial may or may not have as good of a revenue stream for what the town may be looking for.
Hi, Greta. This is Vice Chair Reese again. I just wanted to also state that all of your family members can send an email to the boards stating your position, and it would be great if they were very clear saying, I oppose this change in restricting and removing mining from the industrial zone, or I'm okay with it. But that would be very helpful feedback from them, clearly stating, you know, and then why they feel that's the case. You know, right now, because of the proximity to town, and you know, we were concerned about, you know, all the impacts that come along with mining being right there. And although right now it says industrial, certainly part of our longer term plan was to look at that as possible, you know, rezoning to as just as Trustee Sterling said, for mixed use that would maybe allow some types of manufacturing, but also allow for some housing too. Definitely, I don't really see this as a negative thing. But if you can prove that or show that, you know, that you've got a buyer that wants to come in and restart the mine up, it would be worthwhile seeing that and a letter from all the family members stating exactly what their position, even ahead of the BOT, whenever that's going to come up with the BOT. We all read that stuff when it comes to us, would be helpful, and we would know exactly where you stand. Thank you.
Okay. I understand, and I appreciate that. And it's also getting all of them on, you know, making sure they're clear with their positions on it. And I'm not saying that all the others do or do not have an approval or disapproval of it. I just want to allow for, I guess I'm saying that I appreciate the other feedback, and I recognize that mining isn't the first priority, and it hasn't happened historically for decades of processing the milling. Dad did a little bit of assaying which I suspect Roger may or may not have known him at the time, but when that was going on, but it was nothing to the scale that's even mentioned in the tables. I just feel we do need to be able to have input, and thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you. And like Vice Chair Reese said, make sure that if they even cannot attend the meeting, to please send in email, or so that it's true what their views are. Whether you all agree or not, doesn't matter individually. Everybody gets their say.
Understood.
Okay, so with that, I will close the public input and open it back up to the commission for any final comments. Anything?
This is Commissioner Glasser, and I feel the discussion we just had on having the input from all the family members needs to be in record as everyone stated. I think that's very important, so there isn't any confusion as we move forward with this. So I
Right.
agree with what everyone said on that.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, could we have a recommendation?
Oh, hold on. I had that pulled up and then let's see. It rolled away from it. Here it is. I move to recommend approval of ordinance 869.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. This is Roger.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Duggan,
Yeah, approved.
Vice Chair Reese,
Yes.
Commissioner Pinziner,
Yes,
Commissioner Glasser,
Yes,
and Commissioner Cornell,
Yes,
and Chair Williams.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, let's move on to informational items. We'll start off with the town staff report, and I assume you're going to do this, Britt, or is Jonathan still with us?
He
I'm
is.
here.
We can, notify any, or I'll go over some little things. As you know, we're in our budget season. So that's a big priority in most staff's world right now. In my own world, we have Cass. Cass is doing great. She's our new sustainability coordinator. We almost have our EV level 3 charger finally online after lots and lots of work and switching cans a few times. So we were really excited about that. And we've already got her working on Ames. So that's awesome. She's a great resource already. As for other worlds, our parks team, along with getting the ice rink ready, is going to start prepping our lights and decorations here soon. That's happening on December 6th. I will send out an email just to remind everyone of the time. And John, is there anything you want to highlight?
The board delayed the budget approval process a week because we do have a significant deficit in our general fund this year. And so we were trying to find ways to reduce it. So last night, this is kind of the bigger thing from the BOT meeting. We went through and did some cuts, Rita, the finance director, and I, and were able to cut almost $400,000 out of the deficit side. And that was accomplished in two ways. One, we are going to try to split the Big Springs egress project into 2 years. So we only have to carry match forward for half of that project this year. There's $146,000 required of town match, so that really significantly helped us. It may be possible if the financial position improves that we could change that and get it all accomplished next year, but we can at least get one of the two routes that are desired fully engineered next year. The other thing that we did and the board agreed to last night was to move the BCSO contract to a 50% coverage model. What that means is that we will have people here 50% of the time in the day and the night shifts. And it may actually work out more than that because we do have the peak to peak substation here, but they may go out on calls in the mountain area, what they call the mountain area, which is basically the peak to peak, potentially if there's a priority call. But what we did to kind of offset that is we did decide to budget twice the amount of extra duty shifts for the sheriff's office that they normally have. And what that will do is make sure that there are deputies in town. So if there are priority 1 or 2 calls, the sheriff will be able to respond as normal. But those are essentially a overtime shift for the sheriffs that come up, or the deputies that come up and do that. The other big thing last night was the talk about the Eldora project, and that is the town looking at the potential purchase of that asset. There is a public document available on that. There's an FAQ on the website, and I'm kind of hoping that we'll have the second version of that posted. My ambitious self says by Thanksgiving, but it may be a little bit after that, just depending on when we get all the work done. But that document's intended to be a living document and answer the questions that we have. I've been working with Mayor Pro Tem Sterling and Mayor Giblin to scrub the comments on Facebook essentially so that we can pull them off and track them through a process called context-sensitive solutions. So we'll have this spreadsheet that tracks issues. And if this project moves forward, what we'll do is we'll put measures to success and what they would look like and different stakeholders that might be involved in that process so that we're tracking how that looks. I'm happy to answer questions about the budget or that or anything else happening in the town. There's quite a bit going on right now. As we kind of get to the end of the year, I think as Thanksgiving happens, things will settle down a bit for the holidays, and we'll be right back to the grindstone in January. So if you all have any questions for me, please let me know.
Okay, thank you. The quick question, is there any update in the situation with internet for the town?
Yeah,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you got it.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think I have a meeting this Thursday, but I know that's, as far as I know, it sounds like it's still just, there's been just fighting. Sorry, I've got this fly here and it's driving me nuts. Just kind of some back and forth right now still. So it's still in progress. We've gotten them letters, we've done we've done on our end, but I'm still waiting on some updates. Heck. Sorry. I hate flies.
We are getting a major reimbursement for that grant coming through from the state. I know that's not really PC related, but that's $41,000 that's going to be hitting the budget really quickly, which will be good. So we're just going to keep working with Mavericks and make sure that they get that project done efficiently.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him because we'll be talking tomorrow, and I might just send out a short little email if that works for everyone, just so you guys are in the loop.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
I get a lot of questions on it, and I just don't know what the current situation is. So that's
No worries. We'll get an update from him directly, and I'll send that out so everyone can kind of share it with your neighbors.
Okay. The other thing I was going to ask about under other business, but we can do this now, is kind of an update on the comp plan.
Do you want to start, Britt, or you want me to?
Feel free to go ahead.
Okay. Well, Britt and I, when we've had our previous meeting and we've kind of had some conversations about this, and we decided that what the best course of action would be for me and Britt to take it back into a draft 2 format. We have the draft of that document now, and we have been reviewing it. And we had our initial conversation with SE Group. Was that Tuesday? What day was that? Last week or Friday? Thursday, Friday.
Monday. You're talking about
This
it
week
was Monday.
been,
It's been a long week.
We've had a week of Mondays this week. It's been a long week already. But that being said, we've gotten that draft reviewed, and I think a lot of the corrections that we were looking for have been made. And so what we were trying to do is add a little bit of Nederland flavor to it, so it doesn't read like a robot document. That's kind of the last piece that we thought we needed. So I think that where we're at right now, SE Group has taken some of our comments. I'm going to give them a couple more. Probably, I guess they'll have those tomorrow. And then they're going to get that draft back to us. We may have it by Thanksgiving. We may not. It might be right after. And then we need to review it one more time. And then the next step will be coming back to PC and what our thoughts were. And Britt, correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but we wanted to give you guys some time to live with it, and especially with the holidays coming. So the plan would be to get that document into your hands so you can read it, because it's pretty long for the most part. And then we were thinking, were we thinking January is when we?
Yeah, so we would have them come to the January meeting. But I believe the goal was to get this draft copy to you guys. I want to say it was the first week of December, so that you guys had time to really, like, over the holidays. I know you're going to be busy, but if you get downtime to really dig through it, have that full month, and have January, at least try to have the full month of December, have a good chunk of January, because I believe our meeting's on the 22nd, and then be able to really talk this thoroughly through at that meeting. And that would give you guys time to give comments and stuff as well beforehand, and then us really dive into any more changes January 22nd.
I think
And
it'll
they're
be
pretty tight on that timeline, so I think it will be good this time versus like last time.
I really do think that we've addressed a lot of the concerns. There is a balance here for some of it. What we've done is work on those recommendations a little bit and try to just change some of the language about how they're talked about. But we really think that in the engagement process, one of the things that did come out is that there was a desire to have clear, actionable goals. And I know that that was one of the things that you guys were concerned about from the opposite perspective. So what Britt and I have tried to do is walk this balance between too specific and too vague. And so that's really, I think, one of the little nuanced things that we really need to look at and just make sure that we're kind of achieving what the engagement says and what PC needs it to be. And then there's some little, we talked about some of the smaller mistakes in there and things that needed to be corrected. And I believe, we're ready. We're almost ready for group talk, because I think you'll find stuff that we didn't see. We'll find, vice versa. But together, we're all better finding that stuff. So we just need to make sure we've got all that stuff dialed in. And then the big question, I guess, for you, this is one more, but they have it's still in that draft format. It doesn't have all the pretty pictures and formatting that it will eventually have. And the question, I guess, would be for you is, do you want to see that version first, or are you okay just reviewing the rough?
Rough text for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's more important to get the content reviewed as opposed to worrying about what it looks like.
Okay. We were hoping you'd say that, because that makes it a lot easier to get this faster.
And Britt, what day is the meeting? Because I think you said the 22nd. That's Sunday. December
You're muted.
meeting.
You're muted, Britt. You're muted.
I think she meant on January 22nd. Buddy.
Yeah, the December meeting, Roger, sorry, I should have emailed you. The December meeting for the PC is going to be the 11th. So we're usually have a pretty good turnout in person. I imagine we'll be in person, and then the DDA also runs that day, so they'll probably be virtual. It's how it's going to work.
Okay.
As long as everyone says they're going to be there. Otherwise, we'll swap.
What do we have on the agenda so far for the 11th?
Teens will hopefully be fully done, and we'll do the lot line consolidation there. It will be done by town because it's town's lot, and so I'll be presenting that. And I feel like something got added, and I don't remember what it is. Let me see here. John, was there anything you were throwing on this one?
I had the same feeling as you, but it's not popping into my
I
head
know.
right now. I don't think there's anything critical.
No, I think that's it. Yeah, that's all we have right now, unless something else pops up.
So
Here, I
what you're
got
saying
something
is,
that can pop up.
okay,
Well, there was a big question with the ski area. The question I have, it's a general question, and don't take this wrong way. What would be the planning commission's role in this whole acquisition process of the ski area?
Well, I'll tell you kind of where we're at right now. what the town intended as we kind of talked through this and kind of thought about how we would bring it forward, what the important thing is not putting the cart before the horse. And what that means is the community conversation needs to come first. And so that's why we wanted this story to come live last week. So that's what we did. We wanted to bring forward what we thought of as really important in this FAQ document that you see. And we intended that to be a living document because we knew there'd be engagement from everyone on that. And that's what we're looking for. Plus, minus comments, it doesn't matter because I think everybody's concerned about the same thing and that's Nederland makes a good decision, that's responsible and all of those things. So I think right now where we're at is that we have had that initial conversation. We're working on the second version of that document. And last night, the Board of Trustees said that what they'd like to do is continue working on this project. Right now, there is no planning and land use specific role here, but other than that, we want to engage everyone, and that includes the board. So, I will be talking to ProSab about this and, as information evolves. But that's kind of the thing here is that there's not a one size fits all approach here. There's many different models of municipal owned ski areas and municipal partnership ski areas throughout this country, throughout Canada, throughout Europe. So there's a lot of different wheels out there. We don't have to reinvent it. But, that being said, there may be land use considerations that need to come up. You never know what the best, I can think of many different things that might happen, but as we know, that ski area is not currently within the town limits. So unless that changes for some reason, I don't think that there would be like a specific case that would be brought forward to you for this. But that being said, you're one of our most knowledgeable boards, and you guys all have immense knowledge of what happens in this town and community and relationships. And we want to bring that to the table here. And we really want to make sure that this conversation is robust and includes everyone. Mayor Pro Tem Sterling, I don't know if you have anything else you'd add to that, but.
No, I mean, I had the opportunity to sit down with Steve for a little bit and talk through it and answer questions. A lot of them, are still like on those FAQs. And, if anybody has general questions right now that they'd like to ask, I would say, ask away.
One of the things that Trustee Sterling and I talked about was possibility of annexation. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's not on town property, we do not have access to sales tax revenues. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So annexation probably is an important item that would not only come before the Planning Commission, but something that the board would want to consider seriously. So I think, and then with a lot of the sustainability and snowmaking, and I mean, there's a lot of land use issues there as well that probably should involve the Planning Commission. Although if the land is not part of the town, I'm a little confused as to what our role would be here.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say too. Like, I think there's always a role for Planning Commission. You are land use experts in Nederland, but until I feel like it's early to say that this is even an option to talk about annexation because we don't know if this is happening. We don't know exactly what it would entail. We don't know anything yet. And so what my goal would be is to make sure you guys are informed through this process and we're communicating with you and you understand, because maybe there's a recommendation role that, like a land use issue that could come up that while we don't necessarily have control or something like that, your expertise just in knowledge of the area might be useful. So what I would say is we're going to be giving regular updates on this. And I think to the boards is important. I think that's one of the things we want to do. So I think maybe in your meetings, we could just add in a little update about whatever is kind of coming along the lines. And then I think the other thing is if we do get to the point where something like annexation is something that should be considered, that conversation should come here and we should make sure that happens as early as possible so you guys can start talking about what that might look like, what the implications might be, positives, negatives, the whole bit. And just so that we really make sure, because what I think is really important to me is that the community stays engaged in this process and we hear them on every part of it. And I think so far that's what's been happening. We have had, I think, Nicole, I might be just talking, but I think there's been over 300 comments online. And then we had several comments of the BOT, and we've had several written comments. So I think we've had rather extensive comments on the project, and they've all been helpful. I don't think there's been one nasty one. They're all just saying, hey, be concerned about this, or think about that, or what about this? And I think that's been really helpful. So I'm really hoping that we can keep that approach going. I also really want to thank you guys for those of you that were able to join me for the town talk that we did the other day. We had a really good conversation about, I think the big thing is what makes Nederland, and I really appreciate that. We're going to continue those as well, and this is something we could talk about there too, this Eldora stuff and potential land use implications and all of that. But thank you all for coming to that. I should have said that when I was talking earlier.
Okay, well, you read my mind. I was going to ask to see if we could get an update, for each meeting, brief update on where we are. And in relation to that, is it too soon to answer the question, what the timeline might be here when the town has to make a decision to go forward or not? I don't know how long or how that process works, where
It is. It
go
could
ahead.
change. It potentially could change quickly. I think what we're doing is we're trying to communicate that we're interested, and we have a serious reason, we have serious reasons to believe that this is a real thing that we can pursue. But again, we're doing this from the perspective of municipality. So there's a fiscally responsible ethos that we need to add to this. There's a locally responsible ethos, fiscally responsible ethos. And right now, what we're trying to do is determine whether or not there is a model that makes sense. And we don't know that yet. I do think that the board gave us direction at the last board meeting on Tuesday to start looking at whether or not there is a feasible path. We've done enough research to know that there are definitely options here, and we just need to figure out what those look like. So what I would anticipate is the board is really working and has really centered the idea of transparency around this project and how important that is as a goal. So if there are changes, we will bring that public as soon as humanly possible. And we just have to meet these public meeting requirements and like all of the notice and things like that. And so we really want to make sure that we're having good lines of communication, and especially with the boards too. You do receive communications at times from our attorney, and I think there was an email earlier today that it's possible that maybe there's something wrong with our distro group. So I just want to make sure that I've got that fixed, but we will work on that as well, because we want to make sure everybody is feeling informed about this project. The other thing is I'm always available. Obviously I can't talk about every single thing all the time, but what I can do is communicate what we know and what we know publicly. And the board is available as well. Their distro is live and working and functional, and we are tracking all of these comments. And I think one thing that I know is sometimes it's hard to talk in a public meeting when you have something really important to say or you don't quite know how to say it. So I'm really trying to make sure people know, come talk to me, we can go have coffee or whatever it is, and whatever makes you feel good. And we'll just talk it through, and I will track that issue. So that's really the thing here is we're not at a point where things have been decided. We're at a point where we're working as a community to just kind of figure this out.
Right. I knew that. I was just sort of curious what timeline we might be up against. For example, if there's interest that's been filed to pursue, to go forward and so forth from other groups, is it like a proposal where they have a closing date, or I'm not sure how that would work in this case.
That's one of the areas that we need to be careful talking about, and we don't have an agreement with Powder or anybody involved in this yet. We've been working and talking to people, and what I can tell you is that we would like to get to the point where we know as quickly as possible, but I don't think that there is a timeline. I think this is something that everybody just wants to get right, and I think that there's some interest on a lot of fronts in like this idea that we've presented of this local ski hill. So I'm hopeful that we have enough time to have that conversation as a community, but that could always be a factor that somebody, comes in and does their thing.
Right.
And in having dealt with acquisitions of multi-million-dollar magnitude, it's in terms of a timeline of things really got moving, it's like 6 months to a year really to really settle these things. So that was one of the most recent acquisitions that I had worked through. It was a $100 million deal. We went through it quick, and it was about 7 months.
Okay. Yeah, I know that from my experience, whenever proposals go out or solicitations, there's usually a deadline, and I wasn't sure whether how this works in this case, so that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone have any comments or anything regarding Jim?
Yes, I had a couple questions. I wondered, first off, when is your next coffee town talk scheduled for, John?
I have a question for you. This is an honest question. I've been thinking about doing a happy hour instead, so I can hit a later crew. And I was thinking like very nice, but I know not everybody partakes in that kind of thing. So I was just wondering if you guys had any thoughts about whether a later one would be good, like around the 5 or 6 o'clock hour, or if we should stick to this morning thing that I've been doing.
My
I
personal
think at
opinion
one
is I think that
time
would
we
work
had,
good.
at one time we had all the different board members that could make it. We did have an afternoon session, and they seemed to work out really well. If anyone remembers those other than
Yeah.
myself.
Those turnouts were much better.
Yes.
We used to do that with Miranda, and yeah, we had a couple, we would just go around town to different businesses, and yeah, we had
Right.
that one. The last one we were at, we had quite ProSab was there, PC was got a lot of PC was there. I think we had some board of trustees members. It was a pretty good turnout. So I do think it's a good idea.
I agree.
Okay, well, I think what I'm going to do then, I'll be talking to Peter. I think I was kind of thinking about doing it next week, but I wasn't too sure with Thanksgiving. But maybe we could do it the week after, unless you have different thoughts about next week.
I would do it after the holidays because a lot of people travel or their families come to town or whatever. And so, yeah, you want to don't go to a lot of effort and have few people show up. So I would do it after Thanksgiving.
Okay, maybe I'll schedule it for the first week in December then, and we'll probably try to swing for one of those later ones and just see what happens.
Okay.
I agree, and I
I'm
think
gonna
that
be-
very nice would be fine. As a
Okay.
location, though, you might start before 5 so that you don't end up being there till 7:30. You might start at 4 and
Yeah.
let it run to 4 to 6 or something like that.
Okay, well, that sounds good. And they have
And
other beverages there too, right? I'm pretty sure they have a soda machine.
They have a
Okay.
food truck, and yeah, there's other stuff besides beer.
Okay, cool.
This
Well, let's
is
plan on that.
Elizabeth here, and I just wanted to say I'm away the week after Thanksgiving, but I do look forward to attending these in the future.
I think they can be pretty flexible once we get them moving, and just, we'll try to, what I really like to do is make sure we get to every business. And, Sweet Sue's was great. They thanked us for being there. I think it was a good morning, but if we get a good crew coming, we could do, some good things in the community, spending money wise. So.
I agree, and I think that was the intent of the collaboration meetings that we used to do with the multi-board groups, was to kind of spread it around to the different businesses so that we might help their bottom line just a little bit. I almost wonder though if you shouldn't. I know it's tough because you guys things are adjusting a lot, but maybe you should try and look at a set date and just adjust the time. Like, okay, it's going to be the first whatever Wednesday, the second Wednesday just of the month, and then people could kind of start to look forward to it if you're going to do it monthly on a regular basis. And then I'll just mark it on the calendar, and know it's either going to be early or later.
We'll definitely do that. I'll make that happen after we'll get this one done, and I'll get that next one set up where it's a recurring. Maybe we'll do recurring for 2025 planned out, so it's all there.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
And then my other question I had was, what was the timeline for it? Did the timeline change at all for the comp plan completion and adoption by the last meeting? You were thinking March was kind of the target for adopting that by the planning commission, and I wanted to see if that changed.
I don't think so. I think January it would be coming to you for consideration is kind of the thought. Like we'd have, well, that's when you guys would be talking about that draft. I'm hopeful that there would be only minor changes at that point. I don't think there's going to be anything crazy. And the other thing is, I guess as you guys are reviewing this, you could be sending comments to us too, if you wanted to, so we could address them. So we maybe can get ahead of some of that. But then that would be putting us potentially into a February adoption date if we can get you a final. So I think we'd be on that same track. And then if we got it, if we time it right, then maybe BOT could consider it just at their next meeting, I think.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
At one time, there was talk of doing perhaps a joint meeting with the Board of Trustees. Is that strategy kind of changed now? I wasn't at the last meeting. I don't know if that was discussed or not.
We have discussed it. I don't know that we've really come up with I think there is a desire to start having more work sessions, I think, with the boards, and we've really been talking about that at the BOT. And one thing that comes after the comp plan for the BOT is we'll be working on the next couple of years strategic plan. And one of the things that I am going to recommend in that strategic plan is that we really focus on the relationships and rules of procedure between the Board of Trustees and its advisory boards. And so I think that this is a really good conversation that we should have. And like just talking about, it's good to have a meeting where we talk about, hey, this is how the Board of Trustees might bring something to Planning Commission. This is the approval process for all these different things. This is kind of the expectation of what is happening here. You guys are the land use experts, and they're kind of the elected representatives of the whole town. So there's definitely a relationship there to work on for sure. And I'm not saying that because it's bad. I'm just saying we should be very proactive about establishing how these relationships work. The work session, though, between them on the comp plan, I think that what we would need to do is really, I think we just need to look at that and see when it fits, and if that's something that's necessary, if you guys think that you want to do that, or if you maybe want to come to the board meeting. I think there's a couple different ways we could do that. And I think it really depends on how you're feeling about the next step for you, because this comp plan really is a product of this planning commission, and they approve it. So I don't know if you guys are feeling like you want to have that where you walk through, or if it's enough to do it at the board meeting, just so that there's not I'm just thinking about how you guys really want to bring this forward.
Well, and in the last meeting when we were talking about, because the draft that was received was like, ooh, there's, are we aligned with the BOT? And I think, at least my perspective was, yes, there's alignment. It's just, it came from the consultant, and maybe it just needed some polishing. And so that's where John said, well, let me take it, because I've heard the feedback. I know where this needs to go. Let me take a go at it. And so that's what he's going to do to bring it back before you in January. Because from my perspective, we were aligned between the two boards. It was just, we needed some polishing on the language and everything in the comp plan.
Okay, well, we can probably, if we need to do a joint meeting or workshop, we probably, once we see the next draft, we can probably make that decision or decide how to go forward at that point.
Right.
Britt, do you think we could make have you guys ever done like a shared document kind of thing for comments? Because I was thinking as you're reviewing, it might be helpful if we could see them as early as possible so that we could be addressing. Oh, but I guess that's really a conversation. Like, would you guys like to do something like that, or bring all these comments at one time? I'm just thinking it might streamline things a little bit if we can have like an idea of what issues you're finding.
Yeah, like I think what he's saying is like we did it with the animal code, is we were kind of bouncing, the subcommittee at least was bouncing back and forth on each other's comments, and it was really easy for staff to kind of be like, okay, let's address this. Have we addressed this? I think something we noticed last time is people were addressing stuff in person, but it is helpful if you can address exact language or exact sections, because they do make it in a shareable, like the draft I'm in now, I'm able to see the consultant's comments, and they'll be able to see mine. So I think it's just like, if you guys can be really active with giving that feedback in the document, I think that's what's most helpful for staff and consultants.
Well,
as well as in person.
But to clarify real quick, we can't have more than 3 commissioners in the document giving comments to each other. That breaks sunshine laws, doesn't it, Attorney Madsen?
Yeah, I mean, 3 or more together. I mean, that was a question that I had, is this, would the document be public?
I wasn't thinking
Could
of it
public
as a
make-
collaborative. I was thinking more of like a, I see your issue though. Maybe it would be better if you just send them to us. If we, or
I apologize. That is the pain of
No,
that
you're right.
we've had to go through recently of even our frequently asked questions is we could only receive the comments directly from the trustees. So you all have
Well-
to do the same.
Our meeting is fairly early in December, so you were saying you're gonna get the draft out pretty quickly. So we would certainly have a week or two to look at it, and at our next meeting, which is early December, you'll be able to know how we all doing, go forward from there. So you can almost just make that decision in that first meeting in December about how do we want to tackle the problem then. Let's get the draft out, let's see how it goes.
sounds good.
Yeah, that's
John?
sort of why I was asking Roger what was on the agenda, if we would have time to at least have a discussion on the comp plan, even if people review it, not, in depth, but at least look it over from a general point of view. There might be some comments at that point. If we have time in December to do that, that might be helpful to town staff.
John,
just
it'll be
also wanting-
I thought I heard you say, John, it'll be ready in January. Will it be ready at the December 11th meeting?
Yeah, you guys should have it before that, like first week December. And then what we're thinking is that gives you a month to read and reread if you want to. And then in the January meeting, that's when we'd be, the idea is like, that's like, it's close to final, any last tweaks before we bring it for adoption, right?
Yes, yeah. So they'd like to be as wrapped up as possible. Obviously, if there's feedback to change it. There's no like hard deadline on that, but it would be that they've gotten feedback, they've submitted another draft that is hopefully just about where you guys want it. And then I do think, I'll check back in with Gabby. It's supposed to be that first week of December, but it could be end of the week. So let's keep that in mind, that you may only have a couple of days of reviewing, but you can at least see it and then make those comments. And then we have all of December and January to continue making those comments.
Okay, so we'll leave it that we can send comments directly to you. We won't do a shared document, I guess, just because of the legalities of it. And you're okay with that?
That works for me, because then I can talk directly to SE Group, and I think same for John.
And really, Britt can run point on this. I love being copied just so I know what's happening, but she's shepherded this project forward pretty effectively. So,
Jim, you had a comment?
Yeah, I would tell you that if it would be helpful if Attorney Madsen can find out specifically if that is actually excluded, because we've done lots of work in the past where we've put in comments on a shared document and not together. We weren't, having a meeting. We were, but the benefit of that was I go in and I read that and I could see, okay, wow, they see the same thing I do, and I don't have to recreate what 3 other commissioners have already identified in the document. I'd be pretty surprised. I think that's pretty standard if it turns out that you can't go in and add information separately to a document and then allow people to go access that. But if that's the case, we should definitely find that out, because I think that would certainly be a time saver to staff. I'm not saying we need to do that with the comp plan or anything, but that would be something going forward that I would see as a very useful tool to be able to have a shared document that people could add comments to, but not discuss. There's no back and forth discussion, so I don't see if that breaks the sunshine law.
Yeah, or what if they don't have names that says anonymous, kind of like the interactive maps?
So let me just chime in and
Yeah.
provide my thoughts on this. So this is definitely, I would say it's a somewhat gray area, but my legal advice is that using a shared document like that is a meeting. I mean, you're going into the same space, you're making comments. The open meetings law provides that meetings back and forth between 3 or more members of a board, of a commission, that's a meeting if it's related to substance. So I think that it would be difficult to distinguish between an email chain that's going back and forth between 3 people and a shared document that's accessed, and comments are made between 3 people. I don't think it's worth the risk.
No.
No, I don't think so. We can have this conversation in December too, and hopefully you guys will have at least a couple days with it. So maybe we can have some of those initial conversations. And then the January one, if we do run into a roadblock that you guys really need to discuss, we can keep working. It's just the consultant obviously wants to wrap it up, but we're going to get the comp plan we want to get one way or the other. So.
Okay, there was the possibility at one time of either having that joint workshop or having a special meeting earlier in January and not waiting all the way to the regular scheduled January meeting, the end of January. I suppose we could make that decision at the December 11th meeting if we felt, after seeing the document, at least get an idea of how we want to proceed at that point. Any comments there?
Yeah, it's our document. Let's get it done. We don't need a joint meeting. Let's see how it goes.
Okay.
And I agree, if we could get the document by, let's say the meeting's on December 11th, if we could get it by like the 5th, the draft, that would give people the weekend to kind of go over it, and then at least give, even if it's only, not in depth, but give some feedback, if we're happy with the direction at the December 11th meeting. It sounds like it's going to be a light meeting like this one. So I just hate, having meetings where we got a lot of work to do, but we're not ready to get it done.
Yes, feedback from 7 people is easier than feedback from 14 people.
Okay. All right. Well, let's leave it at that then. Any other comments? And Britt and John, you can kind of keep us updated as when you think it might come out, and people can sort of expect to see it at a certain point, and that might help budget time. Okay.
I guess I'm also just going to ask, could it be worth having the next community talk a few days after the release, so maybe even scheduling the next community talk for December 11th instead of the
Well, this is only being released to the Planning Commission right now,
oh, I
not
see.
the
Okay,
public.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks.
no worries.
Though
Okay.
this is Commissioner Reese, I did want to add one thing. I did find it very valuable, just for John and Britt, I did find it very valuable when we started having those collaborative multi-board meetings. I don't know that we need to have them as often as we were having them before, but boy, if we could do some kind of we did a really great one at the park where everybody got together, and it wasn't just talking. There was actually a little bit of a training involved, and everybody kind of mixed up with the different boards. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people that I've never met before on boards serving in Nederland. And before those meetings, I didn't even know what some of the boards did. To be honest with you, I didn't really know what their focus was. And I think from the feedback I've gotten during, I went to 3 of them during those things, was a lot of those boards don't feel like their points of view really make it to the decision makers at the BOT. So I would say that if we could have at least one sometime in the summer, or maybe 2 of those collaborative meetings, figure out, I hate to put more work on your plate. I know you got a lot, but some kind of a multi-board thing like we did that program we first did in the park, where everybody kind of gathered up and we had maybe 4 groups where people from every different board was on each group, and we got to know each other. It was some discussion, hear a little bit about your board. I think having those, you know, at least once a year would be very helpful. And I think it would give the people from some of the sub boards a chance to feel like, hey, they're actually being heard, as opposed to we do this work and then our, you know, work disappears, you know, to the town staff, and it doesn't really go any further.
This is
Okay.
Linda, and Jim, I agree with what you just said, because we did meet and I think we made progress with the different boards, and a lot of concerns were addressed as the same way that you just said. So I think it's a very good idea and suggestion.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the same thing as my town talk, but I do think it's important. So I will say that I think we need to do both. But really, what I want to accomplish with the town talk, I want people to come talk, and I want them to tell me what they need to say all the time. So I am happy to use that format to do this, but I'm also happy to just start working on facilitating these board communes, or how we know, whatever we called it before, and doing it. I think doing it in the park is great. I think doing it however we can is great. And I think the BOT has some interest in this too. We've had this conversation. And I think one of the other things is the strategic planning effort that's coming up is a good opportunity to connect the BOT to the boards a little bit. Because as I said, I think you guys have kind of noted the same thing, that some conversations about making sure things are moving through the town correctly are important. So I'm committed to doing what you said. I think it's a good idea for sure.
Well, one of
Definitely
the
don't want to
items
disrupt your coffee though. That
Yeah,
was
well,
separate.
I just
I
no,
was thinking
I'm
something
not
this
saying
summer
that.
maybe.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm not turning this into like a board thing when I really am also wanting residents to come, and I want to make sure I'm getting both of those needs accomplished. And so I don't want to say one over the other. I'm just saying I'll make sure both happen, and we'll make sure that it kind of meets your needs.
Yeah, one of the comments that came out of the joint boards meeting that Jim talked about was the idea that communication was not flowing in both directions. In other words, the board might provide some guidance to the board trustees and they never heard what happened. So we worked on trying to improve the communication. I think that's a key, John, is communication, not just between boards, but also with the town in general. So I think that's a step in the right direction. Thanks for doing that.
I will be committed to that. That's something that's important to me too. So next year, when we're talking about this, we'll be just talking about whether you give me an A or a B on that at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, at least you didn't offer a C or anything. That's good.
I don't get C's. I don't really get
Okay.
B's either, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I just wanted to check, since if anyone could follow up with me if they're not receiving emails on the Nederland Planning Commission. And I wanted to make sure everyone got their invite from Macy for the volunteer appreciation party. And if you didn't, feel free to reach out to me so I can get that over to you.
Okay.
It's December 5th, 5 to 7 p.m. I just answered today. Come if you can. They usually, it's a good opportunity. That is an informal opportunity for the boards to mingle and talk, where something that we did maybe in June, you know, which would be more of a training and collaborative thing, would be more, you know, maybe, you know, less social and more, you know, let's have an agenda and figure out, you know, what all the other boards do and get some input from them. But like I said, you know, there's been people that were at the other one. I thought by far the first one that we had in the park was the most useful. We started doing them at restaurants after that, and they kind of became a little less structured. So that's why my suggestion is not to do a bunch of those, maybe do 1 or 2 a year, and just give an opportunity for the boards to interact and you know, with some kind of a training agenda. You know, I can't remember what the subject was. Basically, you guys gave us a couple of homework questions to go back with our individual groups and get to know the other members of the groups, and then come back and answer. And I can't remember what the information was about, but that would be something I would think would be more formalized and less social.
How did those events, Jim, not violate the sunshine laws if there's several people in attendance gathered there?
The
They were
town staff
noticed.
will,
They were,
we'll post it.
yeah,
they
those
were
were posted, they were posted, publicly. So, technically, residents could show up, but I don't think residents typically did.
We had a few, if I recall, we had a few residents show up, just, they didn't say much, but they were just sort of listening in. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Anything else? Anything for other business that town staff wants to bring up or planning commission members? If not, we'll
Motion to
call it an
adjourn.
evening. Okay,
Any seconds?
I second.
All in favor?
I.
aye.
All right.
All right, thanks,
Meeting
everyone.
ends 8:20.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great evening.
Thanks. Have a nice
Thanksgiving.
week next week. Bye-bye.
Great Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.